How are you, my darling?
Oh, well, I'm the better for your asking. Thank you very much. And yes, I love that dress. And I need to come and have your makeup. People put makeup all over me, and life would be a better thing.
It will so be, and one day you will. I will either be coming to Los Angeles or you will be coming over here. So hopefully soon, Julia. And
if
for those
would
of you,
just let me in, I would be there.
I know you so would. So for those of you joining now, if I introduce you, Julia is Dr. Julia Hunter, the founder of Holistic Dermatology, and Julia also has my favorite skincare range of all time, which is skin therapy, because the packaging is shit. I always say this, Julia, and the products inside are the best ingredients, the best actives, you know, just under prescription level. Literally, there's nothing else better. So we're gonna, you know, talk now, Julia, about a subject that, so I probably asked this by more people than any other subject, which is kind of what, and also everyone describes it differently, but to you it will be melasma, age spots, pigmentation,
right.
you know, hyperpigmentation. So what I'd love is maybe we could just start by talking about what is the difference and what you get when, because then people can know what's on their face, because you know how many people misdiagnose themselves and then they'll be listening out for the wrong way to treat it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so melasma is when you get blotchy spots, big blotchy spots of brown pigment. And age spots are just little brown spots that we grow exactly on our hands, on our face, all over our bodies. And then hyperpigmentation is just a description of what the brown is, when people have melasma or age spots. And the question is, why do people have it, and what do we do about it? So the reason people have it is because they're inflamed internally and their skin is inflamed. And so when you get melasma or age spots, you have the melanocytes, which are in between the dermis and the epidermis. And that's where they live, and they get inflamed.
So they're there all the time, are they? Are they living there all the time?
The melanocytes are there. They're there to protect you from the sun, That's why we tan when we're younger. And as we get older, we burn more. And the reason is because our melanocytes are aging and they just don't perform as well. So they don't make this smooth brown pigment in most people, They make more blotchy spots. Now, so light is an inflammatory event, Inflammation is the cause of all disease and aging. And so your melanocytes get inflamed just like your body's inflamed. And why do they get inflamed?
Don't freeze. Tell me why they get inflamed. Yes. Why do they get
inflamed? Because we're stressed. They get inflamed because we eat food that inflames our guts. They get inflamed because of sun.
So can I ask you, Julia, if I never went in the sun, but I was really stressed and had a bad diet, as I get older, would my age spots increase anyway?
Yes.
They would. Okay. So,
and I mean, everybody grows them, but the brown pigment basically, and I mean, you can't win the inflammation, the inflammation. You can't win against inflammation because that's what makes us age. And no matter how many antioxidants we take, but the other problem is because we put skin products on that are inflammatory. We breathe air that's
inflammatory.
To win, and you try to avoid inflammatory chemicals that you put on the surface of your skin. You try to detoxify. You try to take as many anti-inflammatories as possible. And part of why people get melasma when they're pregnant or, when they're still having a period is because if your hormones are askew in the levels in your body. For instance, I do blood levels on women, and I see people have really high estrogen and really low progesterone, and those people are more likely to get melasma. So
Okay.
it's genetics play a role in this as well.
Yeah.
If your sugar's too high, and it's one of the reasons I tell people, you know, as much as we love carbs and sweets, the more you avoid carbs and sweets, the less likely you are to get brown spots.
Yeah.
Because they inflame you. If your thyroid's low, it inflames you. Which is why you have to look after all those different levels.
Julia, we've got a lot of questions. So what I want to do, somebody said to me, don't interrupt her, but I also know that there's so many questions. Those people watching would just want to get a few. So I'd like to go through a few.
Okay.
And just so people can, as we go on the journey, and I'll try and choose the relevant ones. All right. So Booth Cockapoo saying, Julia, help. But we're going to get on to what her, she's got a problem about her daughter. So first of all, is it easy to find skin therapy products in the States? Yes, it is. holisticdermatology.com, and you can go through Julia's channel here. A lady saying, I'm Indian and I have a darker area around my mouth. Is that melasma?
A lot of times in pigmented heritages, where there's more blood flow, like under your arms, in your groin, around your mouth, where you have more blood flow, you're more likely to get increased pigment. Is that officially melasma? No. But melasma, I mean, that's sort of a coin toss. Melasma, some people might call it melasma, but in the big picture, what do you do about it? You just use things. I mean, you try to stay as uninflamed as possible. You take antioxidants, you take vitamin C, you take melatonin is the strongest antioxidant, glutathione.
So you're saying,
really good.
Even though it's not totally melasma, you're going to treat it as an inflammation. So the fact the skin is darker around that area, and not reverse pigmentation, but there's a darkness around it with a more pigmented skin, you're saying that in itself is the sign of inflammation, and therefore should be treated in that same way?
Yes, anytime you have increased blood flow in an area, if you're inflamed, that area is going to get more of the inflammatory chemicals. So around the mouth, it's why when you do a peel, around the mouth always peels the most, because it gets more blood flow, so you'll get more pigment activation in that area.
A lot of people, this is from Booth Cockapoo, and this is a treatment I've recommended as well, because a woman here who I see when I can't see you recommends Cosmelan, and it's a treatment I think you do with a beautician or a therapist.
It's
and
a
then you do it at
professional
home.
peel.
And tell me, do you, in your experience, are things like that beneficial for pigmentation? Short-term, long-term, any-term?
Well, look, professional peels, with the first thing you need to do with melasma, because you can duplicate it and make it worse, is you need to try to cure as much as possible or decrease the internal inflammation, So people need to be taking antioxidants, vitamin C, glutathione. Those things really lighten you. Eat lots of green vegetables, garlic, onions, all those things help. Sorry, still there?
Well, we got you glutathione. We're still here. Glutathione, onions, you were saying. These are... Got it? Are you there? So you were saying, Julia, glutathione, onions, this kind of the food stuffs you were talking.
Yeah, Cosmelan and all those sort of things are just professional peels. But look, you know that
are they good to do?
I'm also Dr. Anti-inflammatory chemicals. I personally don't like Cosmelan. I prefer high-dose retinol peels. I prefer malic, Mendalic, and lactic acid as a better choice. But there are a lot of people out there who do use Cosmelan. There are a lot of people out there who use TCA. Do I like those? No, because they increase inflammation at the end of the day, but they're going to peel it off to a certain extent. But if you haven't stopped the cause of the melasma, the brown pigment's just going to come back, and probably with a vengeance.
Okay, so that's good advice. So it's not your favorite treatment. You prefer a gentler acid, one that isn't inflammatory, like Mendalic, Malic, the ones you mentioned, And fundamentally, we're going back here, Julia, to you've got to address the cause. Okay.
You have to address the cause.
Yeah.
And also, you don't want to be putting things on the surface of the skin that absorb and inflame you, because that just increases the inflammation, which is why I'm all about non-inflammatory.
Yeah.
But the cosmelans, etc., will whiten. They'll kill the pigment to a certain extent.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, you need that pigment to protect you from the sun as well.
So what you're saying is if you strip it all away, you're very, very overexposed in anything sunny to bring it back even quicker.
If you kill those melanocytes are there to be a barrier to the sun penetrating, the UVA and UVB and infrared. And so if you kill those pigment cells, those melanocytes, then the sun just passes right through to the dermis, breaks down the dermis, kills all the cells in the dermis. Your skin loses its elasticity. And so at the end of the day, you're increasing your risk of skin cancer as well.
Can I ask you then, Julia, if we have our epidermis and our dermis and the melasmocytes are in between, and let's say we had a really good diet and we didn't go in the sun and we did SPF 50, would they then always stay in that position? Like
they'll always stay there. I mean,
they're always there protecting. So it's when they poke through because something irritates them, the sun, or that pokes through. So then if you do Cosmelan, are you just not, you're not pushing them back, you're killing them. So you're killing your protection as well as your surface issue. Is that the problem?
So they don't poke through. What they do is they hyper function. So in other words, they make too much brown pigment. It's like, you know, Girls Gone Wild. They basically make too much pigment, And so when they make too much pigment, that pigment goes down into the dermis where it shouldn't be, and it goes up into the epidermis where it's supposed to be, but it it's way too much. So with Cosmelan, whatever, it basically kills those melanocytes, any sort of inflammatory chemicals, depending on the dose that you deliver.
Yeah.
Kills off those melanocytes. And so you're not balancing them. You're not making them well from being sick. You're just killing them. And can the body make more? The body can make some more. And sometimes the ones on either side of the dead ones will fill in. But it's always better to preserve them and try to balance them and try to make them healthy.
I'm going to ask you of a few other treatments that people have had maybe advertised to them to help. So I myself use an LED, you know, I use LED light, but does that increase pigmentation? I think that's a lot of people's worry when they do those LED masks. It doesn't.
No, LED basically, red, green, blue, whatever, the different wavelengths of light. What they do is they balance the melanocytes better. Okay, now the ones that you buy on the market, I mean, they help a little bit, but in the big picture, are they helping much? I mean, they help a little bit, okay? And anything's better than nothing. But LED cannot cause increased pigment, okay? It's not UVA, it's not UVB, it's not infrared. It's a whole different wavelength of light. It balances and makes healthier those melanocytes.
Okay.
It helps get rid of the pigment to a certain extent.
Yeah. And other people ask about laser, Julia.
Okay. So if you have melasma, there are a lot of lasers that you cannot do because melasma is increased by heat. Okay. And so, so some people say, well, what about a cold laser? No, the cold laser is not going to do anything anyway, but you have to be very careful when people have melasma of doing lasers because it can make it worse. Now, with age spots like on your hands, etc., it'll explode those melanocytes that are bad melanocytes, basically sick melanocytes. Yeah. And then they go away, and it gets rid of the brown spots. Okay. Yeah. But with melasma, you have to be very careful. You cannot use laser on most of it. That's where you really need to have a professional who knows lasers and has great experience with them to look at it and say, I don't think we need to do any sort of hot laser on this. That's where peels are better. Peels
Okay.
are better with melasma.
Yeah,
But
because a
healthy
lady
peels,
has had, her daughter had laser, and she said her pigmentation is worse than before. And
yeah.
I know also from my experience, Julia, that I never had pigmentation, and I did years ago because I had very bad acne scarring, a CO2 laser, the very aggressive one.
Yeah.
And I remember I got literally, I remember how bad my pigmentation got. And the way I got rid of it is I internally took a tremendous amount of vitamin C, externally a tremendous amount of vitamin C. And also over the years, I've done your chemical peel, you know, and I've done, that has been my path. And I've got to say, you know, 70% of my pigmentation as a result of that has gone.
Yeah.
But so then you would say generally to avoid a laser if it was that kind of melasma.
You
Yes.
cannot do
Yeah.
IPL. You cannot do a tightening laser because it will enhance it. You really need to peel people. You need to be working on the different, and there's a lot of different alternatives that are not hydroquinone that work equally as well.
Yeah.
What hydroquinone does is it just fades it temporarily. What it does is it takes the melanocytes and it makes them not produce pigment. Well, if you're not producing pigment, you're also not getting any protection from the sun. And
Yeah.
although, and so everybody needs to be using sun protection, but sun protection is not complete. It's never a complete block.
Yeah.
And you really want your sun protection to be zinc, okay,
Yeah.
which is a physical block,
Yeah.
and not the chemicals, because the chemicals will allow the melasma to get more brown, okay?
Okay,
And,
which you don't want. Yeah.
And also there are chemicals which inflame the skin to a certain extent. So to a certain extent, they can make the melasma worse. You need to have a physical block that's zinc, not titanium.
Yeah.
Zinc is a healthy chemical and titanium is not.
Can we talk a little bit about hydroquinone? Because I'm very interested to hear from you. Hydroquinone, I remember years ago, Dr. Obaji did a kind of get rid of your pigmentation, and I did that one with the tube of the hydroquinone, which I was recently reading about, and it's, you know, it has cancer scares. Can I ask you, Julia, are the associations with cancer scares on hydroquinone's ingredient because it does exactly what you suggested now, is it decreases your natural protection against the sun, or is it because there's something in that ingredient which is really not good?
Well, it's really bad for your liver, okay? And
okay.
The Obaji, who's Dr. Hydroquinone, and
yeah.
we respect him as a pioneer, but the bottom line is 6% hydroquinone is what they used to have, and every government wants to take it off the market, but there's such commercial forces at work that they keep 4% hydroquinone on the market. The problem with hydroquinone is it's bad for your liver, it
yeah.
inflames your skin at the end of the day,
yeah.
but it suppresses the melanocyte production, okay? But once you stop using it, the melanocytes overproduce.
Okay.
So your melasma will get worse.
Okay.
It does nothing to cure it. And
yeah.
there are other ingredients on the market which are fading, but getting rid of the overproduction, balancing and making well the melanocytes. And hydroquinone does not do that. It just fools you for a period of time.
Okay, good to know.
And if you have skin that has pigment, your skin, it can start getting blue after a period of time. And
sure.
I've seen quite a bit of that, okay?
Sure.
It's
so when you say there's other ingredients that can fade it, are you referring back to peels with mandelic malic acid and things like that, or something else as well?
Well, vitamin C, mandelic, malic,
okay.
lactic. There's a couple of ingredients on the market that are healthy, non-toxic, non-inflammatory ingredients, which do what hydroquinone does, but they're peeling it off. They're getting rid of it. Because when you have melasma, you've got to stop the overproduction, push it forward and off the skin. You've got to peel it, the melasma up
off
through the epidermis and off the skin. Okay, which is why healthy peels, especially lactic acid, high dose vitamin C, there's some ingredients that are on the market. One of my products, I put it in there where they figured out how to put the ingredients that the geisha girls used to use to whiten themselves.
Yes.
They figured out how to stabilize it, and that will just fade it away. But
what is that? Which is that?
It's my whole body renew. has it in there. And I mean, that's one of the things for melasma that I'm huge on. But what's important
No, let's take a
is,
halt because people want to know it. I do use Julia's Whole Body Renew. They're pads and they have fantastic acids in them. And Julia, I've used them every day
yeah,
on my arms. And I have to
yeah.
tell you that my arms have really, I feel there's less. I mean, I'm the kind of person who says hardly anything here, but my body has quite a lot.
Yeah.
But can I just, Julia, I want to ask you something. This is for the younger crowd, because there's a lot of people who maybe look at their face and they go, which is melasma and which is a freckle? There's a girl of 26, and Olivia, and she's saying, how do I tell the difference between age spots and freckles?
So a freckle is just a tiny little brown spot that, look, it's hard to say.
Let me just see if I can find here.
I mean, what's a freckle? Freckles, usually people genetically make freckles, okay?
Yeah, like this is age spot. That's an age spot. That's an age spot.
Well,
there.
anything, as we get older, it's an age spot, okay?
Yeah. But
some
these are
tiny
freckles.
Little spot.
Yeah.
A tiny little spot. And if you didn't have it when you were younger, it's not a freckle, okay?
That's very true. So when she's saying she's 26, the chances,
it's a freckle.
It's a freckle because she hasn't, unless Olivia has been, there is a lady under her, Julia. I have not name and shame, but Bubbles 2.112 is going, I refuse to use sunblock, ! Which just, to me, Bubbles, sends shivers down my spine, because maybe it's because you love the sun, but just the medical reasons to wear sunblock. I mean, Julia will just, you could talk about that for a lecture of hours.
It's for not making wrinkles, okay? Because the sun inflames as it goes through. So, I mean, look, if you find the right sun protection, it feels good on the surface of your skin. Maybe she just used greasy ones or whatever. But it's about stopping the breakdown of collagen and elastin so your skin doesn't fall to the ground as you go down the path of life.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so I'm going to run through a few questions quickly because there's so many building up. And also, Molly, I haven't even had a chance to ask her some. Booth Cockapoo said, a lot of people recommended Cosmoplan. Do you know if it would help with hormonal pigmentation? So I think we've given the answer that Julia feels, and she's given you hopefully some opposite. Another lady said, any advice for the opposite condition, which is vitiligo?
So vitiligo is well, you say pecan.
Is that what I would call reverse pigmentation?
No. So vitiligo is where you're so inflamed internally that your pigment has been destroyed. Those melanocytes are so inflamed they died. Okay. And so you need to look, when people have vitiligo, is the thyroid low? Okay. Yeah. Are they, is their gut severely inflamed? Are they using all sorts of toxic chemicals? Are they full of heavy metals, lead and mercury in particular? And there's urine tests that you can do that basically will tell that. Are you so stressed out and so inflamed? So with vitiligo, that pigment has been destroyed. Can it come back? Depends on how big the vitiligo, because it can grow in from the side. Those are the people you need to put. They need to be doing a high dose of vitamin C. They need to be doing glutathione. They need to be putting absolutely sun protection because they have no sun protection there. Yeah. And,
I think lots of people, Julia, are asking about all the things you're listing. So what we'll do is, Molly, we will put this afterwards on IGTV, but we will then transcribe it, Julia. So if you feel you've missed something, look out for it in a few days. It'll be on the blog and on YouTube, so you can get this list, because I think lots of people are saying. So someone's saying, I'm going to run through now 5 quickly. You've got to do quick answers. Is melasma, if I have melasma, is it okay if I use P50? I think she means SPF 50, I hope, in the AM and 1% retinol in the PM?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Was Dr. Hunter's skincare recommendations ever posted? I think we did, and they're on the blog of that thing. Somebody's saying your peel is the bomb, which I totally agree with.
Thank you.
Dermaplaning, this bloody dermaplaning. Can it help? I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm just going to ask the expert. Can dermaplaning help with pigmentation?
Well, dermaplaning exfoliates. It's a healthy way of exfoliating, and so it'll help because it helps exfoliating. But you need to exfoliate more. Okay, you got to exfoliate nightly and work up to that where your skin can tolerate that in order to push that pigment up and stop the production of the abnormal pigment.
Okay, this is an interesting question now, because this is, I think, how people can then learn to identify what's on their skin. So Swabby says, what are freckles that have now become blotches on my face? How do you treat them? That sounds to me like there's some age spots there.
Well, what happens is the people who have freckles, they'll get bigger and they're sort of age spotty. And so the pigment gets more brown and they consolidate and then they look like an age spot. Okay.
Okay. And do you treat them the same way?
You treat them the same way. You exfoliate. I mean, retinoids, absolutely. All those things help push the skin up and off the body, but you've got to stop it internally is the message.
I know. I'm hearing that so much.
You've got to deal with the inside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just duplicate them.
Yeah. Do you recommend at all the cryotherapy pen? I think that might be in another language. It's like a derma pen, which is
just another way to exfoliate. You can exfoliate with cold, you can exfoliate with hot. The reason I don't like the cryo pen so much is because you can't control the penetration of the cold, and a lot of times you get a white spot where you had a brown spot. So you have to be really careful. That's why IPL, good strong IPLs like In Mode is the one that I use. Okay,
what
because
for
I think
pigmentation?
it's the strongest one on the market. Those are easier. You control. You're not going to give people a white spot. So you don't want to change a white spot for a brown spot for a white spot. Yeah.
I mean, I use an IPL on individual ones here, and they just should remove them. They shouldn't reverse it.
Yeah.
This is a question I'm asked a lot, Julia. And the thing is, you don't know, fun and happy forever, what her skin is, but I'm going to throw it out there. Which products from Dr. Hunter should I start with? Since they're quite expensive, I have to make a choice. I'm 52 and I have sensitive and kind of inflamed skin.
Well, the number one thing is serum, because you've got to feed the skin and anti-inflammatory. I use it on shingles, active shingles, etc. Okay, you can mix a little lavender oil in there, organic lavender oil, which would always be better. And then you would go to my vitamin C and add that in the morning with serum. And you can take my vitamin C and mix it in a cheaper serum, okay?
Yeah.
A non-toxic. Look, there are a lot of products you recommend. As long as they're non-toxic, then fine and dandy. But mix my vitamin C in there, because that's going to help fade.
Okay.
And then at night, you start with my peel. Because my peel is really strong and it really works.
It is.
But you've got to start really slowly, because it's so strong.
Yeah. So I'm going to then
two would be the most important.
Okay. So invest the money if you're on the budget, because I always say this to Julia, is forget about spending money on an expensive moisturizer or a cleanser, as long as you really clean your pores, but put the money in the serum and the vitamin C's and the retinols. Just, you know, when anyone's on a budget, that is the direction, Erin.
Well, tell me about the other thing is, I mean, serum, vitamin C, peel, and then that whole body renew, because you use it and that really fades brown. Yeah, okay. That and peel really fade brown. If you can do the vitamin C too, it really makes a difference.
Okay. This is, I think she was just a general one. What should she start with? Because she wants to start your range. But I think this is still exactly the right answer. Tell me about dairy and melasma and pigmentation.
So virtually no body, okay, no person, no blood type loves dairy, okay? So if you're going to eat dairy, it's not that you can never eat it, but it's better to do oat milk. It's better to do unsweetened almond milk. It's better to do goat, cheese, but less is more, okay? And the reason it makes mucus, the reason singers don't do it, it makes mucus. Why does it make mucus? It's because it inflames you. Virtually no blood type likes it, okay? B blood type is usually more okay with it, because that's the newest blood type. Well, AB is the newest blood type, but B is usually okay with it, but less is more. It inflames you. It inflames your gut.
If you want to know more about blood type, Julia and I have had a previous conversation, and we discuss it in detail there. So you can refer back on IGTV, because we go into quite a lot of detail, and I think that would be great. Another question is, how important is diet? So I think just by listening to what you're saying, Julia, it is the key for you of one of the ways to take down the inflammation of your skin. Another lady, sorry, VCalf is saying, I'm still waiting for Julia's list of products, but you did send me a list of 3 cleansers and I will be passing them on. I'm sorry, I haven't had time to post them.
That's all right.
Another Julie, I love how she pushes people to fix their diet in order to fix skin and health problems. I'm a believer. I've been working on this for the past months. What products, okay, what about turmeric? Does it decrease inflammation?
Absolutely. And turmeric, look, there are always cook with turmeric. Okay, more turmeric is better. If you do too much, I've had people who overdosed for some whatever reason, misunderstanding reason, it will thin your blood. Okay, but it's usually not turmeric, okay. It's curcumin, because curcumin is the really active form of turmeric. But yes, turmeric, I mean, and get turmeric root and put it, if you're doing smoothies or whatever, okay? The more turmeric, the more curcumin, the better. Curcumin being the active form of turmeric. Yeah. And you have to, when you eat turmeric, you have to mix it with a little fat, otherwise it doesn't absorb. So you got to put a little olive oil in there, really good for your skin. Yeah.
A question here, and we're asked this so much, and I've answered actually with my lovely Shabir as well, but Triya Shetri is saying, would you recommend taking antioxidant supplements with the vitamin C, the melatonin, the glutathione, or take antioxidant-rich food? And I would even just say that I know that for all the good food I could eat, even if I was next to the farm, Julia, by the time it's gone through my system, I'm probably getting 10% of those nutrients. So, you know, it's somebody to me lives in Eden if they can be around food that's so fresh that will give them all the antioxidants they need. But I think definitely having a healthy diet full of unfried food and not stuff that you've kind of, you know, reheated up 100 times and killed every nutrient is also important.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, because we're so stressed nowadays, and I see it every day in my practice, people are so stressed nowadays and so toxic. I mean, the world is a toxic place. If you don't take antioxidants and supplements, taking antioxidants and supplements really slows down the production of brown spots. You have to make sure that your sugar is not too high, and when we're stressed, it runs up our blood sugar. When our blood sugar is high, it makes brown spots. It makes those sort of warty seborrheic keratoses that people get, and so you really want. You can't eat your weight. You can't eat enough in order to
give yourself enough.
You have to take supplements in today's world because of how toxic this world is.
You know, I'm really happy that comes from you as well, because Shabir, who runs a fantastic supplements company here called Victoria Health, talks about it a lot, and you talk about it, and I know I really believe that. I might rattle around every day, but I so know that. 2 little things here, something I do, and a lady saying, does microneedling kill these things too? And I know that for me, Julia, I have this weird regime where I'll really clean my skin, and I'll do, like, you know, I'll microneedle, I'll put your vitamin C powder in. I do have rhinoceros skin, and I need to preempt it because I don't have skin that easily inflames. But I felt one of the best treatments I did was that combination of the microneedling, the vitamin C, and the retinol, just for evenness of skin tone.
I'm a huge fan of microneedling. Microneedling just opens up channels so that whatever you put on the skin penetrates more deeply. The more deeply things penetrate, the more the skin gets treated, the more it lifts and tightens, the more you get rid of brown spots, melasma, etc. So microneedling is good.
Yeah, thank you.
So and it forces new collagen production. It helps get rid of fine lines, and it also helps exfoliate, because you're damaging this. You're damaging the skin in a healthy way, and so it forces new collagen production. So it's pushing the brown off the skin. Yeah,
I love you saying
huge
that.
Fan of
Oh, good. The Biotron Light Zaptor. Do you know this? It might be an English one.
Yeah, sort of know it.
What do you think? What do you think?
Well,
come on, look, this is the honesty chair.
Most of the things that you buy over the counter, okay, are just, I mean, they're not strong enough to make any difference in the big picture. The thing is it going to really do anything that you're going to notice? No. Okay. But
Julia, that's enough. That's enough. You're just saying it. You're
Yeah.
just saying it, say it how it is.
Yeah.
When people talk about the type of vitamin C, because I've in my life taken really shitty vitamin C, and now I take liposomal, I'll take Ultriant, or I'll take a lovely one in a bottle. But, you know, for me, I much prefer liposomal. But, you know, if you had a recommendation, Julia, for vitamin C internally to help with the hyperpigmentation and general body health, what's your preferred?
Well, the higher the dose, the better. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I use one that's made by a homeopathic company that's 4,000 milligrams per teaspoon. Okay.
Love
because,
that.
I mean, you're getting up to an IV dose. Most of the liposomals, like the ones you get in the little packages, are 1,000 milligrams per package. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is it good for you to, the higher the dose, the better. Okay, but if you're taking 1,000 milligrams, it needs to be 1,000 milligrams twice a day.
Yeah.
And the natural form of vitamin C, which is now on the market, is Camu Camu. Now, with Camu
I don't know
Camu,
Camu Camu. Tell us about Camu Camu.
so Camu Camu is the natural form of vitamin C versus the synthetic form, and 1,000 milligrams equals 3,000 milligrams. So if you take 1,000 milligrams of Camu Camu, it's as if you took 3,000 milligrams of the synthetic. Okay.
So when you say, is this a synthetic to you an L-ascorbic acid, or is that only when it's a topical vitamin C?
No, all vitamin C
is an absorbic acid.
Mostly synthetic. Okay, it's been produced from something, so it's not. Whereas Camu Camu is from the actual plant.
Okay, I'm writing it down now. So how do I get Camu Camu?
Well, Camu Camu's on the market. I mean, again, this homeopathic company I use called Physica, okay, they've got it. And I have people alternate between the 4,000 milligrams per day and the Camu Camu. You know, they'll buy one bottle, they'll use that up, then they'll buy the other bottle and use it up. Some people say that the Camu Camu absorbs better. At the end of the day, nobody's ever done a study that shows, you know, you take it and then what blood level do you show? But some people get, when you take high doses of vitamin C, it'll make you, does it whiten you? It's like glutathione. Okay, a lot of cultures now take high doses of glutathione, which whiten you, okay, because they anti-inflame you. And so with vitamin C, you take high doses, but you have to work up to it because even though some of them are made for the gut to absorb so you don't get diarrhea, I use vitamin C high dose sometimes when people are constipated because it gets rid of their constipation. You get rid of their constipation, their skin gets better.
So true. Darling, we're going back to melasma a little bit more detail now, because I'm still getting questions like Zoe is saying melasma and brown spots and pigmentation from the sun. How do we know the difference? So even though you're saying ultimately it's all inflammation of the skin and it kind of should be treated in the same way, I do feel that there's certain pigmentation that, you know, is so hormonal that you might have your period and it's stronger and then it goes down. You might have a baby and when you're pregnant it's stronger and then it goes back. Whereas to me, an age spot pigmentation just, you know, grows as you go down the path of life. So it is important, I think, for us to know the difference. But
so melasma, okay, so when people get melasma when they're pregnant or with their period, it's because they're inflamed, and usually their estrogen is way too high and their progesterone is way too low. And why is that? Sometimes there's a genetic component. People who have metabolic syndrome genetically, but if their gut's inflamed, okay, which is why I'm gonna eat right from your blood type person and take probiotics, and you know, you've got to make sure that your hydrochloric acid in your stomach is good. In other words, your food doesn't just sit in your stomach. But so when any sort of hormonal, where your period or when you were pregnant, it was because your hormones are askew, they're not right, and you're inflamed. Okay. And so that's why some people get melasma when they're pregnant. Some people get melasma with their period. Melasma is big blotches. Okay. Blotches. You get these big areas. Age spots are just little spots, little brown spots that come up, you know, wherever, on your neck, on your chest, whatever. Those are sun. Those are inflammation. Those are stress. And so those are easier to get rid of. Those you can hit it with an IPL. You use your light, your light, your LED light, etc. That helps.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to get rid of those. Melasma, the whole area is inflamed, and you've got to be very careful to push it up more with peels and skin products, and not with lasers. You cannot use an IPL on those.
Okay, I think that's a very good message. There's other ingredients that people do, because I think it always is going back, Julia, to, you know, finding your information truly valuable, but thinking, well, what can I buy? And I think that whilst you don't recommend singular things, it's what are the ingredients they should be looking for in something. But I'm just going to add in one of those, because there is a brand, The Ordinary, I think, do alpha arbutin and kojic acid, but kojic acid also is in a few other products as a sort of alternative to a sort of vitamin C element in life. But tell me about those two ingredients and how you think they are or aren't helpful.
Well, kojic and L-arbutin definitely help. Okay.
Yeah.
Some countries will not let you import products with those products in there.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of politics and whatever that go into all of these, but they definitely help. They definitely help exfoliate. They're not inflammatory. They're all good ingredients.
Yeah.
The strongest ones are like Sim White. Okay. Sim White is in my peel. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the hydroquinone alternative, but then I'm all about pharmaceutical strength, but non-toxic.
Yeah.
Kojic,
a lovely lady saying
Latic,
the real Kate Curtis is
all
saying,
of those are good.
Yeah, the real Kate Curtis saying, I had Melasma until I used your products. I mean, I do know that if you can afford Julia's products, there is no better treatments for what we're discussing. But I think that if they're looking, Julia, and if they're on a budget, maybe some of our ladies, for The Ordinary, or for a brands where products are you know, it might take them a bit longer because the active ingredients won't be so strong. But if somebody's on a budget of sort of £30 for a serum or £20 for a serum, you know, I think that if they look for these ingredients, if you had to say 5 ingredients,
Latic,
Julia.
Glutathione, L-arbutin, kojic, those are really, and vitamin C. Those are the
vitamin
most important
C,
ones.
Glutathione, kojic, lactic.
Yeah.
Okay, and alpha arbutin, which we've said a bit too. This is
Mendalic.
great.
Look, anytime
Mendalic.
with Mendalic in it, it's a really good product, and Mendalic really gets rid of pigment.
Yeah, and Mendalic is an acid. Is it a PHA or is it a?
It's made from and it's made from almonds.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not an AHA, which is glycolic and salicylic. Your 2 favorites, Julia.
Yeah, my 2 favorites.
Yeah.
Right.
We won't get Julia on salicylic acid in this conversation.
No, we will not.
But yeah, just so people understand those difference. What about a flat white? Okay, that's not and everyone please wear SPF. I totally agree. Now, some people are talking about sun. So there's obviously some sun bunnies on here, Julia. And, you know, I'm not going to judge people for being sun, because for a lot of people, it just feeds them such, you know, it feeds them good energy.
Right.
So if you had to choose a sun where you're going to get a bit of sun in, would it be morning or evening sun for you?
Evening is always better. Okay. But remember, sun is going to come back to haunt you in the future, because you're going to get brown spots, you're going to get skin cancers, and
I know
in the future
they're not
it's
necessarily
not
going to get skin cancer, but you're like, yeah, I mean, it's
not going to feed your soul. And I've got a patient right now, I've been peeling, and she's got, I mean, just brown keeps coming up, seborrheic keratosis, things just keep coming up because she was a sun bunny. Okay, now she loved it when she was doing it, she regrets it immensely now, and I can peel it and peel it and peel it, and you know, I peel it and I peel it, and all
it keeps on coming.
Yeah, it's hard to get rid of. Okay, and so take your vitamin D, find some other way to feed your soul, and wear your SPF, because it really, in the future, you will be very happy you didn't get all that sun.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I had very bad, I mean, embarrassingly bad sun experiences when I was in my sort of teens, of lying on literally tinfoil with olive oil, Julia. I was a raw chicken. But and then I went in my 20s and I did fake tan a bit, and sunbeds. I put my hand up. But from my sort of 30s, on my face, I started to consider SPF. And I did this weird little L'Oreal thing. I mean, I've had Botox, you know, and all the stuff, but I did this L'Oreal thing today because I'm looking at, you know, those virtual stuff. And they say, put your age in and it will give your virtual age, how it maps your skin. So I got 31 back, which I was really happy for.
Oh, fabulous.
But I think because it was mainly measuring sun damage, you know, it was measuring wrinkles in terms of how many wrinkles. And I don't have wrinkles because I started doing Botox at 35. And so they hadn't developed. But that daily regeneration of your skin through acids, through cleansing, through microneedling, that to me is giving that, you know, consistency in the skin, Julia. And I think the SPF is not the icing on the cake, it's the foundation of your whole face.
Well, and you're peeling off the damage, okay? That's why exfoliation is essential. I mean, it is absolutely essential because you keep peeling off the damage, and that is making new collagen, all the things you're doing, making new collagen, and it lifts and tightens. It's pushing off the damage, because the reason people get skin cancers is because if they sit there and can consolidate, okay, the abnormal cell can consolidate. If you're exfoliating, if you're using your retinoids or retinols, but it has to be a strong retinol, okay, because most retinols are useless. It has to be a strong retinol. You're using your peel. You're exfoliating, not over exfoliating, because then your skin gets irritated and you stress it. But you're exfoliating so that your skin just looks good. It doesn't feel like it's got dead skin on the surface. Then you're pushing off the old damage, and your risk of getting a skin cancer and developing brown spots is much decreased.
I mean, that is a new statement to me, Julia, because I've always felt aesthetically, the more I exfoliate and whatever, it would just aesthetically mean I don't have many age spots. But I'm fascinated when you talk about how, in a way, perhaps it turns from an age spot to something that's not that happy on your skin when it amalgamates and finds friends. That's really interesting.
And if it starts to be concave and have a little star red thing in it, that's an early skin cancer and actinic keratosis. Now, can you peel those off? Absolutely. I have people who I do retinoids, and that's retin A, but I'm using, for instance, a retinol. I'm using vitamin C. I'm using peel. I'm doing all those things to push them off the surface of the skin, and it'll usually exfoliate it off.
Okay, we're going to do some quick fires because there's so many questions coming in. So this is one, it makes me nervous. Can preteens use lactic acid in a chemical exfoliant?
Preteens usually need to, lactic acid is fine. Okay, they don't usually need that much exfoliation because their skin is turning over so quickly. Anyway.
I would say it's quite early, that, Julia. A little bit early,
I think
I think peels, Julia's named when
she
talks
to be a teenager, 13.
I would agree. I think it's a little bit young to start. I think when we talk about peels, we're talking generically, Julia and I, but we're talking about what ingredients should be in a peel. And you can buy peels or AHA acid products from many different people. Julia's one contains a very good mix of Mendalic, Malic, Latic, and it's just a phenomenal balanced peel. And there's two ways also, Julia, I just want to say that one talks about peels. So you have professional peels, which people put on, and then they either take it off and they put a neutralizer on, or it keeps working. You have your kind of peel, which you put on and you don't then remove it. You have the ordinary, has a little AHA. Self-neutralizing. The ordinary does a little sort of blueberry or loganberry or something, AHA, BHA peel, which you would take off after a few minutes. So some, also you get exfoliating pads from many different companies. And just maybe if you're looking for melasma, don't look for ones that are sort of glycolic and salicylic. Look for the ones that are more the acids Julia is talking about. The softer acids are going to work at gently exfoliating your skin.
And Mendalic
lactic in particular. So I just want to get that out, because I think, so we don't confuse it for people who are maybe wanting to go and find a product. Okay, another one. This is an interesting one. What about a pigment blocker? Okay, so she uses vitamin C, retinol, 50 sunscreen, and still see signs of melasma. Do I need to add a separate pigmentation blocker? Now, could it be her SPF is chemical and not zinc?
Yeah, it could be that,
Yeah.
okay? Because zinc is really important, and reapplying is also important. But the other thing is that there's no such thing as a pigment blocker except for hydroquinone. Okay, now my Sim White, and that is ingredient that you may be able to find in other products. I haven't. It's more expensive, which is why my peel is more expensive. That's why I put it in there, because it's hydroquinone alternative. But there's no such thing as a pigment blocker. Kojic and Arbutin are to a certain extent. Okay. But hydroquinone is really considered the pigment blocker, but it's not doing anything for getting rid of the pigment. It's not going to prevent you making pigment. The only thing that's going to prevent you making pigment is, number one, using a physical sun protection and reapplying. And number two is internally trying to uninflame as much as possible. So taking vitamin C, glutathione, melatonin if you need it, or lipoic acid. I mean, all the antioxidants, eating lots of green. Yeah.
I'm going to throw out Bubbles, who doesn't want to wear SPF. Just this is a throwaway. We've got
Bubbles,
3 more minutes.
What is your problem?
So let's just do 3 seconds on Bubbles. For Julia, a question. Years ago, people cured all kinds of diseases on the natural solarium, even psoriasis. Thank you for a word. You answer her, darling. I'm going to say goodbye to my daughter 1 second.
Vitamin C. The thing about,
look, here's my Lila.
Oh, look at how gorgeous she is.
She's going to see
beautiful.
Okay,
beautiful.
I love you, darling.
I'll be here at like 9.
Okay, darling. All right. But text me where you're going to be.
I'm just gonna.
Okay, but I want to just okay. Yes,
so
darling.
Vitamin C. I mean, using sun. The problem is sun inflames, and because of the decrease in the ozone layer, I mean, sun is much more damaging than it used to be. Okay. Yeah. And when you combine that with how toxic we are internally, it's just much more damaging. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to wear sun protection. Look, vitamin C is sun protection to a certain extent. At least Bubbles needs to be using a high dose vitamin C. Okay. Yeah. And things that anti-inflame her skin. A good serum that doesn't inflame, and then peel it off, the damage that you're accruing daily off, okay? Yeah. But using a zinc, remember, zinc is antiviral, it's anti-COVID, it's good, it absorbs through your skin. It's important for you to have a good zinc blood level, but zinc is just keeping the UVA, UVB, the inflammatory rays from penetrating, because sun is just like X-rays, okay? Yeah. And radiation is cumulative. Okay.
Julia, I think we have to stop because I always worry after an hour. But just to answer, SPF, you've been asked for recommendations. First of all, I want to say that the cleansers Julia recommended are on my YouTube channel under the chat I have with Julia. So you will find them there. I did put the list down, Julia. Secondly, SPF recommendations. I'm going to do my top favorite SPFs, and I will be doing mineral defense ones, which contain zinc. I will be doing a couple that don't contain zinc, Julia. Helio Care, because it's one of my favorites, but it sort of protects me. Epicurance, you love. I know Epicurance. I think it's a very good one. I know you have one as well, a 30. So I just think that we'll try and, do a list. We are going to talk. I haven't answered questions about arachidonic spots because we will be doing that next. And I just wanted to focus this one entirely, Julia, as much as we could on melasma. So, darling, we've had so many questions coming through. Julia, she ships worldwide. So it's holisticdermatology.com, and it's spelled WHOLISTIC dermatology.com. And if you also look under skin therapy as one word, you will get Julia's products listed.
Well, if they just do my name, but also I've got vendors in the UK, so people can get it in the UK without having to be shipped from the US.
Okay, fine. So, but they still would go to your site to order.
It's all on the website.
Great. Okay, fine. Yeah. And if you want to get an appointment with Julia Hunter for when she next comes over to the UK, I think I would go to inquiries on your site and state when she's next coming. Please let me know. Julia is really booked up when she comes because she has a lot of clients she's had for years, but I think you fit in a few new people each time if you can.
I try
to. All right.
If Boris will let me back in.
If Boris will let you back in, honey, and he better. He
Exactly.
better. Can I just say, Julia, I just love talking about you going down the path of life. And I have to tell you a last funny story, and this is it, all right? I'm slightly going between Kevin Spacey and House of Cards, but let me tell you, my lovely ladies on the social media team, whenever you or I say going down the path of life, they go, bingo! They're waiting for us to say it.
Well, we're all going down the path of life, and we're trying to do the best we can to slow down the path of life.
We so do, and I just
You're
every
doing
time,
the best job,
Julia. Every time I learn so much from you, and it's a joy. And thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing your experience. All right, my darling. We'll catch up soon, and in a couple of weeks, I think we got booked in to do spots.
Okay, good. I look forward to it.
Bye-bye,
love. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Wasn't that a joy?